Well, welcome everybody. This is Kim Evans. Thank you for joining on Inspired Conversations podcast show. I have a very lovely guest today. Yes, I do. I have no other than he is back, Lawrence D. Adams. I am so excited. Lawrence, thank you for saying yes to come back again in the Father's Day edition as we wrap up June.
Yes, yes. Thank you for having me back.
Yes, it is definitely a pleasure. Let me give you a little information about Lawrence. Lawrence, actually, for those of you, if you didn't catch podcast one and podcast two and podcast three, Lawrence actually is an author, podcaster, motivational speaker. He's a music composer. Lawrence actually currently hosts a podcast called When Spirituality and the Game Combines. It is called The Thinking Class, and it is on YouTube. I'm so excited about that, you guys. That's how I found out about Lawrence, and I've been hooked ever since. The podcasts have men, it's a podcast for men, but also women are welcome in dealing with masculinity, relationships, and purpose. He's also known for his uncanny ability to get people to think at a higher level of thought. And he's an author of several books and audio podcasts. So, The Secret Invisible Crown is one of his books, and also in Believing in Yourself. So, he's a loving father of two, one currently serving in the military, and the other the second year in an Ivy League college. So, Lawrence, thank
Yes, yes,
you.
yes, yes. Good to be here.
Yes, it is good to have you here. So, we are actually going to be talking about fatherhood today.
Mm.
And as we move forward, your visibility on your side actually went blank. We can't see you on your side. It went kind of blank. So I'm going to set it up while Lawrence actually gets his side more visible. So, what we're talking about today is fatherhood, and we're actually going to explore successful fatherhood in the life of navigation of being a father. And what we want to talk about is fatherhood as a divine role and opportunity on how fathers do shape lives and families, right? We're going to talk about how fathers leave a legacy. In this extraordinary episode, we're going to unravel secrets behind sacred journey and the fundamentals that the roles that fathers fulfill. So in today's episode, as we wrap up June, we're making a tribute to all the men who are fathers and the celebration of their unwavering commitment, their sacrifice, and their love. This is an invitation to embrace the profound responsibility of fatherhood and to create a positive and enduring impact in the lives of our children, right? And particularly, we just want to embrace Black men as being fathers as well. And I'm so excited. He's a wonderful role model for that. So, y'all, I want y'all to sit back. I want you to open up your hearts. We want to prepare to be inspired as we embark on an enlightening journey of successful fatherhood and the life of navigation. So let's listen to what Lawrence D. Adams have to say on fathers being the protector, being the provider, being the teacher, being the role model, being the nurturer, being the mentor, and being the companion. So I know that is a tall order, Mr. Lawrence, but I know you
Yes,
can.
it is.
So go ahead on. We're gonna let the spirit move wherever it go and take it away wherever you want to get started.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that fatherhood is something in our community and in our nation that has been minimized and taken for granted. And so now, when we see the anomaly of a father that's in the child's life or in the children's life, we don't know how to define it or how to deal with it. One of the things I found that was very important when I was in my journey becoming a father was my father came to me and made me promise that I take care of my sons no matter what I do, whatever's going on in my life, whoever I'm with, or whatever's taking place. I can remember that as clear as day. and pulling me to the side at his apartment, says, take care of those boys. So he was teaching me by making me promise and making a commitment, his legacy of taking care of me and my brother and sister, and to make sure I do that for my two sons. And so fatherhood is something that's special to me because my father was in my life. He was dear. He was my best friend. So I cherish fatherhood.
And why do you think men don't take that as seriously? Because, all men can, they can produce kids, but it takes a real man to be a father. Why they don't step up to that when
I
they
think a lot of times, a lot of men don't step up to being fathers because they didn't see a good example.
got you?
Another reason why they don't step up to being fathers is because, and I heard this last week, a lot of men, because they didn't see good examples, they're afraid of making a mistake at being a father. I heard that just last week. One of the guys on my broadcast said, the reason why I don't have any kids because I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to be a good father.
Oh,
And it shook me because I'm like, wow, I never thought about it that way because I got sons. But he was afraid that if he became a father and his father wasn't there, that he wouldn't be a good father or he would be absent.
wow. Wow. It's interesting because when God gives you that role, he doesn't give you a manuscript. He doesn't give you the blueprint. You got to make it happen. So because you actually has to be the trailblazer, it's kind of sort of like it just goes by life. I mean, it happenstance. It's just, you just go one foot in front of the other. There is no manuscript. So because of that, it is not going to be perfect. You got to learn as you go. That's a part of it. That's part of the formula. He didn't give you it ain't no man. There's a manuscript for marriage. Ain't that something? It's a manuscript in marriage. He wrote it in First Corinthians. It is in there.
Yeah.
But there is no manuscript for being a dad and a mother. And oftentimes women beat themselves over. I know this is supposed to be for the men, but women do the same. They beat themselves over. I hear it all the time with my clients. I wasn't the best mother. Well, God didn't say you were going to be the best mother. Fathers, we know he didn't say for you to be the best fathers, but he did say to be the protector, the provider, the teacher, the role model, the nurturer, the mentor, and the companion. He didn't say that.
Yeah, he did. And there's no excuse. Now I'm going to say this is going to be sort of hit a couple people in the face, but it is what it is. A lot of men, there's no excuse for you not to be a good father because there are too many examples around you and there's too much information for you to step back and say, well, I can't be a good father. No, you have enough tools around you to be a good father. If you did, I looked at not just my father, I looked at my grandfather, I looked at my cousins, I looked at my couple of my uncles, I looked at people that were outside around me and how they fathered. And I understand that something I had to come to grips with being a father is that you're not going to get it right every time. Just 3 weeks ago, I had to face that with my youngest. I'm like, you know what? I had to come to him and apologize to him because I'm used to being in the mode of director leading, and I needed to sit back and listen because he's coming into manhood.
Ooh, that's good. Oh, here we go again. Here we go again, LDA. Here we go.
Yeah.
Seasons of going into man. Okay, I gotta park that.
Yeah.
I wasn't on the notes, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna let the Holy Spirit roll through. Okay, I'm gonna park it. We're gonna come back to that. So we're gonna go through this real quickly. So, father as protector.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Father as protector.
So a father as a protector, you're protecting their livelihood, you're protecting them physically. But one thing that I think a lot of people miss about being a protector, you're protecting their mental and their spiritual. And I think that's the biggest thing right there. I'm always pouring into my son's life. Now, this is the thing. When I'm pouring, sometimes I'm not talking, I'm pouring by how I'm living.
Yes.
That's the difference.
silent example because they're watching you.
Oh, they're watching.
I've always, those dads that will be saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna pick up my kids," and they're sitting on the side of the road and they stayed there for 5 or 6 hours, and the dad never pick them up. They're watching, and they're gonna remember that for the rest of their lives. Fathers that make those commitments, and you don't fulfill those commitments. But I'm so glad you said that, because they're watching. It's your nonverbal communication. It's how you're dressing. It's how your presence. It's how your essence. They're watching all of that.
They watch it. I didn't know how far they watched it until my youngest brought. I'm saying my youngest, we spent a lot of time together. We went on a trip just recently, and he said something. He said, "Dad, when I'm in college, I do like you." I said, "What do you do, son? What do you do like me?" He said, "I go into any room or I go to any event like I know everybody and that everybody knows me." I said, "You got that from me?" He said, "Yeah, because every time we go somewhere with you, Dad, you know everybody." I said, "Son, that's the key to networking." And he's been doing that with success. But he first seen it by watching his dad go into everywhere I go, I know someone. If I don't know him, I'm going to know him. And he's been watching that since he was a kid. The oldest one does it too.
Love it. So father as provider and teacher.
So as provider, I provide them with, of course, monetary. That doesn't stop. But I also provide them with my wisdom, my knowledge. But another thing I provide them with that a lot of people don't provide to their children, I provide them with my failures.
Boom. And that is the transparency that you let your kids know that you're not perfect. And I love that because they see the transparency, and it's just like, we got you, dad, or we got you, mom. When you really can just say, "Hey, I don't got this right either, but I'm going to try." And you come back, because then you let your kids know that you are a human being.
Yeah, yeah. I had to do that with both of them. They're both here in town. I say, "Listen, everything didn't go well. Some things I didn't do right. But here, I'm going to apologize to you guys, because no matter what, I'm still your dad, but I didn't do everything right. I don't want this persona that I'm this super dad and I did everything good. I made mistakes. I said some things. I said some things incorrectly, but I had to come back now as a father and say, you know what, sons, I was wrong." What that's going to do, they may not respond to it today, but say 10 years from now, 30 years, 50 years from now, they're going to remember that my dad was big enough with his personality as it is to come back and apologize to me for the things that he did to me.
So beautiful about what you just said about that, Lawrence, is that you will not leave your sons traumatized. See, when parents don't apologize to their kids, they don't understand when they're little, or even if they're just like adolescents, or even like young adults. You leave your kids traumatized. I was traumatized for a long time until I understood one of the personalities of my dad. And then now he'll say, "Kim, I'm sorry, I apologize." Even my mother say, "I apologize." But more importantly, it's like, "Okay, dad, I got you." I don't hold him captivity, anymore, because he comes back and he says, "I'm wrong. I apologize." I'm like, "Okay, that ain't nothing," but we know that ain't nothing but God. But it's beautiful when your parents can, to do that. So kudos for you on that one.
Yeah.
Fathers as role models.
So as a role model, what I've done is I I role model by how I live. And so I know many people look at my posts on Instagram, Facebook, on YouTube, and things like that. My sons are in all my social media. They say nothing. They don't comment. They may like here and there. But what the role modeling part comes in, they're seeing their dad's life on display. They're seeing him, they're watching. They're watching how I communicate. So I'm a role modeling. Sometimes we think is that we got to have 5 steps and I'm role modeling. Sometimes we talked about this just a few minutes ago. It's the life that I'm living.
Right.
And my sons watch intensely. They may not say nothing. Y'all might not even know they're even there. They're in the back. I'll notice in the background, I'll notice they may like something, or they looked at a reel, or they looked at something. They'll never say nothing, but that's I do many things I do on social media is not for anybody else, but for those two boys.
Mhm. You know what? That you said something very important about that, and that actually will allow you to be at a higher level. We know we're not going to see you in a strip club, make,
Nah,
you know, and it allows you to live in this, not in a bubble. We're not saying that, but a certain level of a caliber because your kids are watching you, and you are the number one mentor for those boys. You're the number one mentor. So if
right,
they're not getting it from you, who are they going to get it from?
right,
Right? They don't want to see
right.
their dad like that.
No,
So kudos again for you for that. So when you're on your social media, I was just having this conversation with with another young man. I said, man, they got the social media police out there. You got these youngins out here. You guys are getting jobs and you guys are popping down corners and popping these shots and stuff like that. If you're going to apply for a job, you go for an interview, you've already been denied because they've already looked at your Instagram page. They're watching your stories, they're watching your life. And trust and believe they're going to make a decision whether or not they want you in the corporate culture or not based on what they see in your social media.
that's correct.
Imagine your dad is just like, hey, my dad is cool. He's traveling. He's a style fashionista, and he's doing all these kinds of things. Look at my dad. He got these likes and followers. He's on YouTube. That is amazing.
Yeah. Comes with responsibility. And this is interesting because that's the one side. When once you become, like you said, an influencer, or as Tabitha Brown once said, not just an influencer, but you're a person that influence people. It's a responsibility with that.
Responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, and my sons, when we were out and people come to me, they may step back a little bit, but they're seeing the responsibility in how I treat people who may notice me out in public. So they won't say much. They'll protect me, but they watch. So they look at how I treat people around me. That's role modeling right there.
Role modeling. That's role modeling. You never know how your kids are watching you because it's about your response. It's not always your reaction, but it's how you respond. Father as nurturer. This one is really interesting because we always think the feminine energy that the woman is to nurture. Okay, that is one piece, but the man is to nurture as well. So just speak a little bit on that fatherhood. Fathers being
So
word.
so with nurturing, it's real dear to me because you look at your children, and not just only your children, but the children around you as tender leaves.
Yes.
And what happens is when you nurture something, you take your time because you care and you want it to grow strong.
Yes.
So, what many things I've done is to nurture my sons, is to give them certain information and then come back later and give it to them again. So, I nurture them and growing in the information that I'm giving. So, I take my time and say, what about this? What about that? I come with 1,001 questions. I know they say, if he come with one more question, but it's my way of nurturing them to get them to think and to process almost like I do, but still not losing their individuality. So I nurture their minds, I nurture their spirits, I nurture them how they move in public. So it's something that I think a lot of times men don't do because we just want things done, and that's just me. I'm that person. I want it done yesterday. But when you nurture, it's about being patient and watching the little leaf begin to grow and blossom.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Man. And then I want to add to that too is that you get them to activate and make decisions. And there are some fathers that say, oh, that's for your mama to do. That's her role. But I'm telling you, yes, we both have a role of nurturing, but it's a distinct difference when mothers are nurturing and fathers are nurturing. And I was raised by my dad. And so when fathers nurture, you actually get them to activate and be independent as a man or as a female, and you get them to make decisions for themselves so that they're not codependent on you. In essence, well, what would you do, daughter? What would you do, son, in this particular instance? Tell me, what do you think you would do? You flip that back, and then you allow them the space, the grace, the capacity, and the time to be able to do that, because when you do that, then now they're expanding,
Yes,
right?
yes,
That's,
definitely.
that's beautiful fatherhood. So, father as mentor, type of
So as a mentor, my
leadership.
mentor used to say sometimes mentor is torturer or the person who takes you through the meal. And so I can be a very tough mentor. And the reason why, because I see the gold inside of my son.
Okay.
So as their mentor, I may require some things that maybe other fathers don't. And so I have some, like when they were younger, they wanted to get something from me. Well, you need to write a paper or write an essay to let me know why you need to get my money to get what you want.
Love it. I love it.
And so what happened is with that mentorship, I'm teaching them how to negotiate because the first paper is never the right paper. I don't care how good it is. I don't like the first one.
Okay.
I'm teaching them how to do presentation. I'm teaching them to be confident in their words. So I'm mentoring on another level, even at the end, no matter what, I'm gonna give it to them, but I had to make them work for what they were going to get.
Yes.
That mental, that's what I'm doing.
I love it, because then at the end of that, they can appreciate it.
Correct.
Yes, they
Give
appreciate.
it to them.
Yes,
Right. So I
because
had the right papers. They had papers they had to write. You got to write me. I told him you had to write me a proposal. He said, Dad, what is a proposal? Well, you go look it up. You're smart. Go look it up. Go look at proposal.
I get it ready for post. I love that.
Right. They were in high school. They were in junior high school writing proposal. Why? Because if you wanted these shoes, I need a proposal why you need to get into my bank account for me to get you there. And so what happened is once they realized the dynamics of it, when it came to something else they wanted, we said, well, I got my youngest son caught on to it. He had a slideshow and 5 reasons why, how it would help him. I said, that's what I'm talking about.
And, but I guarantee you, when he got into the military, or the one that's in your Ivy League school, when they said, "Hey, put us together a PDF presentation," he know exactly what to do on an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF, because he said,
Yes.
"Make me do it." You,
Right.
wow, that's good. See, that's good training right there.
Yeah. So I'm just the thing. I'm not trained. I gotta say this one because this is just a good one right here. I'm not training my sons for them. I'm training my sons for my grandkids.
Okay. Okay.
So everything I'm pouring them is not for them because what I'm pouring for them is for my grandkids.
Beautiful.
So what happens is they're going to take what I have, they're going to remember the lessons and the lessons they have, and they're going to pour it into my grandkids.
Come
So
on.
so I said many times, I said, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for my little grandkids that ain't even here yet. They're looking like, what?
Like, what you talk about? I mean, oh, wait a minute. Let's don't get biblical now, because we can go there, as God
Yeah.
said to Abraham, "I'm gonna bless your seed of seed of seed, and your
Right,
grandkids gonna be blessed." I mean,
right,
look what you're doing.
right. So yeah, so that's I think a lot of times we don't a lot of men don't have enough vision to see past themselves, then past their children, but their grandchildren. Any successful, wealthy family started with the pioneer looking at their generation, 3 generations down at least. I'm doing this for them because they know if they can pour it into that son, then they can pour it into that daughter. They can pour it. It's going to keep going. It's going to increase. My sons are brighter and smarter than me to where I'm at now, at their age. Why? Because I'm already looking what I've already poured inside of them, and now they're going to pour inside of their children. They have no other choice to do it.
So I got to ask you this last one: father as companion. Let's
Mhm.
talk about that. Fatherhood as companion.
So fatherhood is a companion as my sons, and that sort of segues perfectly. I'm just learning to let go of looking at my sons as babies
Mhm.
because they were my babies.
It's so good when a man say that his sons are his babies.
Those are my those are my babies, and we had to have a heart-to-heart conversation. I had to have a heart-to-heart conversation, and he told me, like, "Look, Dad, we know we your babies, but we're men now." And it was hard because I still want to say, "You my you you my baby, you my little baby." You know, I'm still, and I had to make the transition to let go of them being babies and now become into another role, as what the word you said was, become their partners in life, or partners in where they're going, their support team.
Okay, so I'm already going to lay the seed because eventually you're going to write this other book, and that is going to be From Sons to Manhood. I already know you're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to write the book. I see it already as we're talking. And Seasons of Manhood, because we just mentioned something. God doesn't give you a blueprint for that. You have to come into the knowledge of that. And you only come into the knowledge of that when they recognize that and you recognize that. That's what's so beautiful. So when
Right.
they recognize that and you recognize that, there's a beautiful inspirational time and it goes with that. Because he just said, Dad, we always gonna love you. You know you are our sons, but we're not babies. We coming into manhood. But my question is, what prepares? Who prepares the father, the man, you to say, okay, I got to pull it back? Where do you look within yourself to say, okay, this is this next level of wisdom or knowledge that I now need to implement when God didn't give you the blueprint for it to be able to cut the umbilical cord? Where do you get that from?
That's a hard one. I think there was no blueprint. There was no one to tell me. I think the biggest thing that caused me to do it is having honest communication with my sons. And I had to sit back and listen to where they were at. And I had to say, let me readjust how I'm treating them, because my youngest fella, I kept treating them like a baby. He said, Dad, I'm grown. I'm like, but you're not grown. No, I'm grown. And I had to step back and say, okay, LDA, you fly and all like that. Let these boys, let them swim. You taught them everything there is to be a fish, but now they get in the water a little bit and you don't want them to do what they're naturally designed to do, which is what? Swim. And so I had to step back. Was it easy? It is not easy. I don't care what anybody say. I don't care what these guys say. Oh man, just let him do what he want to do. No, it has not been easy. Sometimes I revert back and say, hey, I have to remember, I gotta let them be fish.
Yeah.
I gotta let them swim. I gotta let them come back and say, hey, Dad, we didn't do something right. Okay.
That was so beautiful because what I'm hearing is it's a growing pain for you,
Oh yeah.
pain for them, and y'all growing together. And hopefully you're growing in the same direction. But that's part of God's mission. He gives you that role, that responsibility as a role as a father. And then you have your kids that are becoming into young men. And that umbilical cord must be cut.
Yeah.
Same thing with us women. But it's so beautiful to see it more when it comes to men because you guys are the leaders of the future. Wow.
It's been I am tender with that right now because one son is across the country and the other one is at his Ivy League school. And when they both of them are here, I get I get a little emotional and I want to cling to them instead of saying
Yeah.
let them go, let them go.
Yeah.
Because I want to pour so much inside of them so fast, but they may not be ready for it.
They may not have the capacity.
Correct.
The parent have to know the capacity of their kids. This
Yeah.
is why some parents to say, no, my kid is going to a JC. Nah, they need to stay at home for another couple of years and not mature enough. And you have other parents that say, yeah, they're ready to go into the wilderness because the parent has to be able to decipher that as well. And that's beautiful. That's a part of parenting, the unique gift that God gives you. Let's move to balancing fatherhood, work, family, and fun.
Mhm.
have your 7 pillars of your roles, responsibilities, right? But then you also have the other side that's called life. So at the same time, you have to balance fatherhood, you have to work, and you have to have family, and you have to have fun. So how do
Yeah.
fathers balance that piece?
Sometimes I do not know, but I tell you what I've not learned to do. One of the things I've learned to do to bond with my sons is for us to get together and we may go out to eat, or like yesterday, we went to a festival out in we went to a festival together and we just walked the festival. We tried food, we had food, and we laughed. There was a guy that was came along. He was antagonizing us a little bit that I knew, and they were laughing about that. And they seen some older guys that I know. So that right there was just a fun time when I'm laughing. And I don't have to be watch out over there, look over your shoulder. I got to instruct them, but we were laughing, having fun, listen to the music. They told me what they like. I had to admit I was like, wait a minute. One of them seen a young lady. He said, that right there, it's that. I like that type of woman. I said, what about you? No, I like that type of woman. So what I had to do is, it may not be my type, but I had to say, you know what? Respect what they're growing into. Respect that they even came to me and even told me that. And some signs were not even, kids will not say anything. You find out 15 years later when you got a grandkid and like, I didn't know. So I had to learn to say, I tell you what the fun is. I had to learn to take the judge hat off. Stop
And
being a judge.
not be judgmental and
Yeah,
have fun organically, right?
yeah,
Bets are off. All right,
yeah,
I'm gonna allow you to say what you're gonna say. You're gonna say what you're gonna say. I'm not gonna judge you. All bets are off. When we're in the fun zone, all bets are off.
yeah, yeah,
Because really, because where else do you allow your children? Where else can your kids be free? Your kids got to be in your own house. They got to be free. You
yeah,
got to give them some type of a bandwidth for them to be free.
yes, yes, and that's so important. And we laugh. We today we had brunch today, and we laughed about what happened yesterday, and they were just chuckling. I'm like, you know what? That right there, that bonding time together is worth everything.
Mm.
Everything. Now I know, like I said, one is going one direction, one is going the other direction, and I gave them explicit um, directions. Don't live. You need to move from here. Don't come back here to live.
Oh, damn. I understand. On that note, real quickly, for the parents out there that have multiple siblings, brothers and sisters, and east, west, north, south, and what, east, west, north, south, and then they begin to live their own lives, college, they may be a couple of years apart. I'm just kind of curious, what tip do you tell your sons to stay in connection with one another, to keep the opens of channels of communication? And real quick, before you do that, how many years apart are your sons?
So my sons had to correct me on how far they are from each other. My youngest is the mathematician, so he's like a year and 10 months or whatever the case may be. They figured it out. So what I do to make sure to keep their connection is I asked the one brother, did you talk to your brother? I asked the other brother, did you talk to your other brother? And I said, you may want to talk to him because, and then I egg it on. I egg it on. I said, the youngest one, I said, I say to the oldest one, your brother look up to you. Oh, he do? Oh, yeah, yeah, he look up to you. And the youngest one, I say, you know what? Your older brother, he's going to do this, he's doing that in the military. You might want to reach out to him. So I egg them, I keep the relationship with them going. And if there's any dissension and things like that, I said, we got to resolve that immediately.
Hey.
I said, it's just you two. It's just you two. You got to keep that together. Now, did they have differences? Oh, yeah, they had differences. They fought. They had words. They didn't speak. And they realized that they were two different people and they were going two different directions. And they had to learn to respect that. And so I had to make sure, as a father, is to keep them together, but also let them resolve whatever they have going on with themselves.
I love that. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. I hope y'all parents getting. Are you
Yeah.
picking what Mr. LDA is putting down? Because he putting down some gems in this. This is beautiful as we flowing. So I want to also ask fathers leading in the future and leaving a legacy. Oftentimes I think of so many dads. I mean, are you thinking about your actions of today? How is that going to determine or how that's going to impact your kids for the future? It's like, really, come on. Let's just tap on that. Fathers leading in the future, right? How do you leave a legacy as a dad, as a father?
Wow. I think you can't leave a legacy if you don't have a vision.
Mm, mm.
Plain and simple. You cannot leave a legacy with no vision. And we as men are called to have vision. It
Yes, you
said in
are.
the Bible, write the vision down and make it plain so they can run with it.
That's
If
right. That's what Habakkuk says.
you
Yes.
don't have vision, you have no legacy because your vision is only for today. It will never be for tomorrow or in the future. So how do we do that? Your vision is what you pour inside of your sons or your daughters or your children and say, this is our structure as a family. Like I tell my son, these are the atoms. You got to represent the name. You got to rep you. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring a legacy. This is what my dad poured in me and how the atoms carry ourselves, how we do things. And so I already automatically been casting the vision in the future since they were little kids. And how I've been doing that, I told my sons to say, hey, when I would talk to them on the phone when I was out of town, living out of town, I would say, you're here. I say, repeat after me. You're here for a purpose. I'm here for a purpose.
Yes.
And I said, they say, I'm here for a purpose. I am a master. I am a master. Money, it's easy to make money. Why would I tell my sons that? I said, it's easy to make money. Now that my older son, my younger son caught on too, they said, it's easy to make money. But I said, now you got to learn how to maintain money.
Mm.
So I've been doing that since they were at least 5 to 6 years old, teaching them that. So right now, if I was to call them right now, I'm here for a purpose. It's easy to make money. I'm a master. Why? Now it's in their what? That seed has dropped down in them. Now, when I look at what they do is now you see in the harvest starting to come up of what I poured inside of them when they were a kid. Legacy.
That's it. That's it. Fathers, are you picking up what LDA is putting down? This is good. This is real good. I love it.
Yes.
And we got to get to this, which is just so important as we know that mental wellness and illness is running rapid across the board in cultures. The balance of mental wellness, when we look at the stress, the significance of fathers and mental well being, discuss the impact of mental health and fulfilling fatherly roles as it relates to mental wellness.
This is so down my street right now because you got to talk to your kids on how to process their feelings, their disappointments, their likes and their dislikes, not without being judgmental. I can't go into I particular situation, but I will say this: I had to have an open ear, and I had to walk the particular child through something that his mother couldn't do,
Ah,
and I had to say, "Hey, I don't want you to go down this road. I need you to go down this road because this road is brighter and this road is going to lead to you not being too happy." So and the other thing I had to do, I had to use words. What do you think and what do you feel? And so even though they may give a surface feeling, I had to say, well, dig a little deeper. What else do you feel? I had to get him to process his feelings of what was going on. And it was not easy. I had
right.
to process it. I said, let's process. Then the next day, I said, well, how do you feeling right now? So I'm feeling a little better. Good. So that means you're processing what took place. Because a lot of times we don't give our kids
Strategy.
tools on how to what deal with life.
Thank you. Bring it on, LDA. Bring it on.
We don't give them tools on how to deal with life. We just throw them out there
Coping mechanisms. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Don't do it. And I've been guilty of not doing it. And I just let me step back. Let me show you how to deal with anger as a man.
you. Let's talk about that. So, how do men teach their men child and also ladies to deal with anger? LDA.
So one of the things one of the things I've told my sons, you gotta realize one thing, the first thing I told them was when they were younger, anyone who makes you angry controls you.
Okay.
That was one thing I told them. But the other thing what I told them to do is you need to face that you are angry. Stop pretending that you are not angry, that it did not bother you.
Acknowledge the feeling.
Yeah, acknowledge it.
Acknowledge. Yes. Yes.
I said, acknowledge it. Now, once you acknowledge it, you can now say, okay, this is how I'm going to proceed forward. I had a situation happen yesterday, and my both one son asked, "Are you okay?" The other one said, "Oh, wow." So I realized I had to show them by my example because I was livid, and that's a light word about what took place. But I had to proceed on what I needed to do. So they're watching how dad processed a situation that happened to him that was dear to him. So as by example, but also I have to teach them this is how you process your anger. This is how you process when things don't go your way.
Not by
This
trying to shoot somebody or beating them up or bullying or holding it inside and imploding. And you want to remove yourself from the face of the earth because that's very serious. Suicide is running rampant in the young
yeah,
people.
yes.
But to really identify, first of all, that anger feeling is real. You're feeling an emotion. Let it out, but don't stay there.
Right. And you have an ear at any time. I don't care where I'm at, what I'm doing. You can call me.
Amen.
Call me. You got an issue? Call me. My son in the military called me many times. Dad, he say, "Hey, Dad." I say, "Hey, what's going on? You need to talk?" Well, I'm cooking right now. And I know when he started talking about he got a cooking, that means he needs to talk some things out with me. And it's helped him out, saved him from a lot of situations because I was being an ear and then gave him the wisdom afterwards.
But you said something really important. You said you allow the open door to be free that your kids can call you at any time. See, but then you have these CEO and CFOs that be running these corporations and women, men alike, and presidents, and they have all these things that's going on in their world and they don't have time for the kids. Allow the time or the bandwidth, the escape for their kids. And then
Yeah.
they turn off the way they turn up. So, your suggestion to fathers who are busy, how do they turn down the busyness to give their kids the freedom to say, hey, you can call me at any time? How do you do that?
So the way you turn down the busyness is when you realize that your kids are valuable. And when something is valuable, you're going to make time for it. What happens is they may say they are valuable because I gave them the BMW, or they have a house, they have this. No, the value I'm talking about is intangible. When you value them, you're going to open up the door for them to say, hey, Dad, I need to talk to you. Or Mom, I need to talk to you. The value that's there. And I think what happens is we say we value them, but we really don't because we value what we're trying to give. And you know what is going to happen? If you don't value them now, and I'm talking to a particular person, if you don't value them now, your old age will teach you what you will come back and haunt you because what you poured inside of them will come back and feed you.
Amen to that. We could see that when I see that all day, every day when I go visit my dad in skilled nursing facility, and I don't see nobody in there. None. I see no one visiting these people. I'm like, where are their kids at? Where are their family? There's no one visiting them.
Because what did you pour See, we're always the principle of sowing and reaping is always taking place. So what did you pour that you can reap a harvest from your kids? Not saying that you need to that way, but in the sense you will reap what you have sown.
I love this, Lawrence. This is be fantastic. You know, me and you, we can go forever. You know, and I love the fact that this evening we talked about the seven pillars of fatherhood. We talked about Lawrence dropped some gems on the father as a protector, the provider, the teacher, the role model, the nurturer, the mentor, the companion. And as we are looking and talking about fathers leaving a legacy for their men and for their women children, balancing fatherhood in life and family and fun, leaving a legacy. But and mental wellness, you know, how do you implement and how do you ground that? But let's just end on this note. I want to know, once you do all of this,
Mm.
the father still needs life and fun too. You still need to give back to your self care. So I want to know, how do you find time for love and fun for you? Because you have to implement into you so that you can be that full vessel to implement into your children.
Ooh, that's a good question. Loaded too. So I will say this.
I know,
I
I know it is. I know it is.
I will say this. I've learned through the years to go spend some time and pour into me.
Mm,
See me on social media, I'm going to get to a beach. There's sand on my desk right now. Why? Because I know the importance of pouring back into me. And I make it up. I am purposeful with it. Now I may not have to travel. I may go to the park, local park. I may go to the local beach. I may go to the local restaurant. But what I do, I purposely make sure I pour back into me.
mm.
Why do I do that? Because I can't help nobody. I can't help my sons. I can't help anybody if I'm an empty vessel, if I have nothing to give out. So what I make sure I do, I'm telling you, Lord is my witness. I make sure I go out and do things that replenish me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Replenish me.
Others, are you listening to this? Because this applies to you too.
Yeah.
Giving out and giving out and giving out and giving out and giving out, and you do not give back to yourself. As a matter of fact, you should be the first person that you give it back to. And
Yes.
that you can be able to be that one to give out for your whole entire family. Oh my God, Lawrence, that is so wonderful. Any last words that you would like to share to the audience as it relates to fatherhoods?
I would I would say to men, as far as with fathers, don't get discouraged, whatever the situation is, as far as with your children. And I would say is you may think what you're doing doesn't make a difference. But I'm here to tell you, looking at my sons now, it does make a difference.
Mm,
And it does make an impact. You will see the reward. You may not see the fullness of the reward, but you will see the reward of your children. And don't give up on them. I know they do things that just drive you up the wall and back down. Don't give up on your children.
that's real
Don't
talk.
cast them into the darkness.
That's real
Make
talk.
sure you keep forward inside of them. And this the number one thing I heard this today. Fathers love your children.
Mm,
Just love. Sometimes, and I'm gonna say this for men. Me and my sons, we got something we do. We got a special handshake that we do. When we do that, it's our way of bonding. I make sure I hug my sons. Hey man, I love you. Appreciate you. Show some love to your sons, to your daughters. You don't know how much they need that. Or if you don't know, there will be other people in line to give them that will lead them the wrong direction.
absolutely. They get all twisted, go into a gang, and they go down these roads that they don't need to go into because they didn't get the hug and the love from their moms or from their dads. And particularly our daughters are always looking for that love for our dads. That's a totally different conversation right
Oh,
there.
I did the same thing for fathers. Because if they're not getting the love from their fathers, they go look for love from a wrong father.
Absolutely.
We'll right there.
Wow. So I do like to ask my colorful questions. We already know your color that you love. We already know your favorite food. We already know that the place that you would like to travel. So the question that I would like to leave and ask you is, what has been the best advice that you have left both your sons?
Wow, what's the best advice I've given my sons? The best advice I given to both of my sons is it's funny, but I had to laugh about it. Is learn the game.
I
Learn how.
love it. Yes, that is the best advice. That's the best advice.
That's advice I learn the game of life. If anything, because I said if you don't learn the game of life, life will play you. So you got to learn how to play the game. Just the thing, I make sure we understand when I say the game, I ain't talking about manipulation or trying to take over nobody, but I'm talking about learn the game of life. And I know they if I were to pull them on the phone now, learn the game of life. They will learn how life works.
Lawrence, you're so funny. Were you my dad? I was just sharing on a post before. I said, for Father's Day, I was giving a tribute to my dad. I said, the two things that my dad told me: number one, always get on your knees and pray, keep God first. Number two is the game of life, the street cred game. Wisdom and common sense, actually three, and that's amazing. You got to learn that. That's very, very vital. That's important. That's important. And my last question, I got to ask you this one. I can't get off the podcast if I don't. How do you find your peace? Your peace.
My piece. So this is gonna be interesting. I don't look for peace.
Okay.
I don't look for peace, and I'm gonna say reason why. I don't look for peace. So how do I find my peace? I don't. If I'm trying to find it, that means I don't have it.
Okay. How do
I
you?
don't look. I
How,
don't look for it.
okay. How do you embody peace?
So how I embody peace? Simply by saying I am. I wish people. I know that when everybody hear, but
I heard it. I heard it.
I am.
Heard that. I
And
heard.
so what happens is I resonate that I'm not looking for peace. I'm not looking to find it. I am that peace.
I
And
love.
when you do that, peace will what? Be here.
I love it. It has been a pleasure. We always have such an amazing time, Lawrence. You're one of my perfect guests. We
Thank you.
always be dropping some gems. I hope you guys have really enjoyed this. Lawrence, leave with the viewers how they can find you. I am going to leave it in the show notes, but on YouTube and Instagram, which is now your new favorite playground, get in contact with you.
So the best ways to find me is Instagram, Lawrence D. Adams. On YouTube, Lawrence D. Adams. And on Facebook, Lawrence D. Adams. You can find me there and on TikTok. I'm actually on TikTok too.
You there? Are you for real? You going on
I,
TikTok now?
I'm on TikTok also, so you can find me on there also. Lawrence D. Adams. Put it in, you'll find it. You'll see me there. I'm sharing some wisdom, and I want to thank this wonderful host for having me, Kim Evans. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. I'm very honored.
It's always a pleasure. And for the viewers out here, I just want to simply say, God bless you. And I hope that you was able to take some gems away. I am Kim Evans, the owner, Kami Coaching. You know how to get in contact with me. I'm going to leave my information in the show notes. But I just want to just send a blessing out as far as the East, as far as the West, as far as the North, in the South, that you can take a gem or two that our guests that Lawrence has shared with you, and you can implement that and into your lifestyle right now. God, continue to bless Lawrence and his mission and his vision and his sons to protect them. Angels be around him everywhere that they go. And God, I just thank you for allowing me in my voice, because I am nothing without you. And viewers, thank you so much for watching Conversations with Kim Evans. And please share this out. Until next time, peace, love, and prosperity. And no matter where you are, ladies and gentlemen, always bring the joy. This is Kim Evans. Bye for now.